Our squad's nothing but trouble, but we get the job done.
When you got a problem that needs solving in the galaxy far, far away, you call in the specialists. The Bad Batch is the newest Star Wars series on Disney+, and if you've ever wondered what happens to the clone troopers after Order 66, well, we're about to find out, and look, it isn't good. I spoke with the star and creative minds behind this series who say it's this show's time period that makes it so fun.
We start out with the Bad Batch right at this incredibly dramatic moment with the announcing of Order 66 and all of the horrible things that go down with that. And they, being a kind of an improvisational team of outsiders, are thrust into this massive, instant, galactic change, and we follow along with them as they try to sort this out in terms of what's happening and where they stand. What's the best way for them to manage this, or to behave, or to move forward, or to survive?
The galaxy is in a massive state of change. And they're witnessing the end of the Republic, the beginning of the Empire, and they have to question where they fit in and where they belong. And it was really exciting to get to explore this part of the Star Wars timeline, which hasn't really been seen too much on screen, but through the Batch's eyes, because, you know, they've never really had to think of anything political before. And they're now stuck in this new reality where they used to be soldiers and now they're kind of in this in-between and don't really know what they are.
Is the Bad Batch's story just kind of like a in-close look of what all of the clones are dealing with?
Well, they've always been a little different than the regular clones. And, you know, as we've seen with Order 66, how the Batch reacts to it versus how the clones, the regular clones, is very different. And I think the relationship between both groups is something we explore thoroughly throughout the season because it's so complicated. You know, does the Batch view them as their brothers? Not initially, because they've always been these rejects and viewed as such by the regs. But as time changes and the galaxy changes, you know, how the Batch's point of view and opinion of the regs also changes as more information comes to light for them.
The clone army does not evaporate, not to give anything away, but that is logically that is still in play. It's still present, and they are always in the midst of that because they're kind of in that world, in the clone world of clones, but they're also not in that world. And so here they are. They were in a republic that's become an empire, and so where do they stand with that? So there's a very odd ambiguity that even for them. And they're used to dealing with things on the fly in an improvisational way. Even for them, it's quite a challenge to try to find their footing.
And since the Bad Batch takes place at a time in the canon when lots of storylines converge, fans should expect to see lots of cameos in this show.
Yeah, I mean, it is this time period. There's a lot of people that we know and love that are bumping around doing all kinds of interesting things. The key for us is that when we bring someone into the show, and we won't talk about too many details, but we will see some familiar faces that will be really fun to reveal to the fans. But when we do bring them in, we want to make sure that it makes sense for the Bad Batch. It's not just as much as I'm tempted to take my box of action figures and dump them down and say, Jen, let's play with all the action figures. We obviously don't want to do that. We want to make sure that it makes sense for what we're saying. And when we get it right, it's really good. It's really fun.
A key character in the Bad Batch story, Omega, a young girl clone who's lived her entire life on Kamino. The Batch winds up caring for Omega as the galaxy undergoes its massive shift.
I got some very distinct Grogu vibes from the Omega storyline here. Why now another series about protecting kids, protecting children in this time of upheaval?
We have this crack team of elite commandos. What's a challenge that they can't tackle so far? Like, they're the best of the best. They can topple anything. They can take down anything you throw at them. But if they have to deal with a young member of their team that they have to take care of, that's a completely new ballgame. It's a completely new challenge. And I think it helps shade their whole journey in this series, what they do, the decisions they make, how they survived. And the interesting thing is, because she hasn't been off of Kamino, we get to see from her point of view, the world is very different from what they've seen as well. So how they all interact together and bond as a family really is the heart of the show. It's really great.
So what happens to the clones after Order 66? In the Bad Batch's first episodes, Grand Moff Tarkin arrives on Kamino to take stock of the clone army, and already he's talking about reneging on the Republic's contract since the Republic no longer exists, and replacing the clones for recruited troopers. And why? Because the recruits are cheaper.
We're continuing the story of the clones, and it sort of felt like if we're going to talk about their journey post Order 66 and through the future, you have to talk about where they came from and where they originated, because that's crucial to not only the Batch's growth, but also who Omega is. And yeah, whenever Tarkin shows up, it's never good news for anybody, but Tarkin's a businessman. So I think the Kaminoans are also very smart.
5 enhanced clones, more capable than an army. A test is in order.
Hey, thanks for watching, and for more Star Wars, here's why the Darksaber is the key to The Mandalorian Season 3, and don't forget to follow and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.
Experimental Unit Clone Force 99. The defective clones with desirable mutations.